This presentation supports the third part of AS 90379, demonstrate understanding of how internal factors interact within a business that operates in a global context. This is building on from innovations 1 and 2 that we looked at before. Now this is all about managing innovation, organisational culture and distinctly leadership. So we were looking at understanding how culture developed through leadership and how different leadership styles affects culturally significant areas within an organisation. So first and foremost, we were looking at barriers to innovation in an organisation. So when you're trying to develop an organisational culture which is reflecting innovation or any type of innovation in an organisation, very often there's key things which are holding you back. One of these would be understanding the market. So from that you are being quite short-sighted and using your own market information rather than a variation of sources. Centralising one source of data, lack of company coordination, so what the marketing department are finding out maybe is not being shared with what the finance area need to know, or even what they're finding out through their inadvertent research effectively. Myopia, lacking long-term view and insight. Now this is also a little bit tricky because markets are hugely diverse, they're hugely dynamic, they're ever-changing, and no one can ever be 100% on top of everything which is occurring at once. So it's very difficult to get all the latest information, and as well, organisations have a certain amount of resources at their disposal. So this always is going to be a problem. Added to that, so this sort of goes into market knowledge as well. So sort of alluded to previously, if you've got a single source, you think that source is reliable, but over-reliance can be problematic. Once you get that information, the problem can be you're not processing it correctly, and you're not doing what the information is telling you, maybe because it's not what you want to hear. Largely as well, but a belief that organisation possesses all the information needed. Now this is a very big problem, to have that attitude that we don't need to know any more information. It's a rather short-sighted. Always remember, if you don't find that information out, your competitors will. Using market knowledge, not currently using the knowledge, so you've got it, you've taken it on, but you've made these conclusions, but you're not using it. Or you're ignoring it, as I mentioned before, because it might be difficult, okay? Or you're thinking, well, that's not really nothing to do with us, that's going to be that department or that area over there. So all of these can be barriers to innovation in an organisation. And largely what it comes down to is the whole idea that everyone's pulling their weight together, sharing as many resources and as many sources as they possibly can to all be going in the same direction. So obviously leading in the same direction is a key thing to this, and leadership is a fundamental part of developing culture, developing innovation within a culture. So largely the leadership does have a big bearing on what the type of culture will be in an organisation, inspired very often by whoever could be the founder, the current CEO, that current visionary, whoever it might be. And the culture will reflect the chosen leadership style. So to go back to level 2 type of stuff, what we're looking at, if we can remember leadership styles, this is not the only leadership styles out there, but in terms of what we're going to be looking at, it's a nice pattern. So we've got autocratic, that very much top-down management. Okay, you do as I say, and you do it now, and you do it in this way. Democratic, whereby you're conveying a sense of opinion of a lot of people. And you're following what everyone is agreeing. Whether or not that is the correct pathway is a big question. You're still following what everyone democratically has agreed. Paternalistic, taking on that whole idea of seeking other people's opinions, but essentially, regardless of what those opinions are, you take the lead of the paternal leader. Okay, a good example of paternal leadership is Donald Trump, the current presidential candidate in the US. Laissez-faire is more a more a theory rather than something that is implied in practice, but it's the whole idea that you entrust everyone with the ability, the knowledge, the skills and the expertise to get on and do what they need to do without you having to lead them. They can lead themselves and we're all going in the same direction. So what we need to be thinking about is the application of this distinct leadership styles in certain areas of the business. Now, I've referred to them as culturally significant areas in the business. So these are areas of the business. They're not necessarily linked to specific departments, but what they are linked to are things which will give a key insight as to the type of culture which is being shown by the organisation. So communication will show a key insight into the way in which culture is used. Loyalty, commitment, innovation, as we've been talking a lot about, recruitment and customer focus. So to analyse the effectiveness of leadership styles in these areas, and what's also very important to remember is leadership styles aren't set in stone. If you are an autocratic leader, it doesn't mean that you're an autocratic leader all the time. You may have certain times whereby you feel democratic processes are much more effective, even times where you can say laissez-faire. Effectively, the effective leadership needs to show an ability to adapt to a number of different styles in different situations. So when you're looking at this one, this is a way, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but this is a way in which you can analytically look at the effect of leadership upon different culture within the area. So if you look at the different areas down here and how they would be reflected in an autocratic, democratic, paternalistic and laissez-faire style of leadership within the culture.